So what do you think about these markets? Let's get into it a little bit and talk.
I'm excited to pick your brain midweek.
You need small tools, man.
Just because we've got a ton to look forward to, a lot on the economic calendar.
Yeah.
An interesting sentiment coming into this election cycle in FOMC next week, and some other data points. And these forex markets, the ranges are kind of constricting. So do you think we're gearing up for a lot of volatility? We've got a lot of U.S. data to come. What are you thinking?
Kind of a mixed bag. Euro actually was a little bit higher. It had a decent spike back up to the 200-day moving average about an hour and a half ago and gave back a lot of that. Cable's under a little bit of weakness. The UK budget announcement is coming in about an hour.
Okay.
So remember last time they announced this, it didn't go so good for those guys. I think she lasted a week after that budget. I don't think this is going to be the case. The market's expecting them to actually, they're going to need to borrow a little bit more, but they're going to try to paint a picture of spending less. So I think you learn from the lessons of the past. Sterling getting a little bit of softness here, giving them about 60, 70 pips in the last hour and a half, back below 130. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a lot of movement around that. I don't expect that to be a huge one. We're seeing some of, again, Euro bouncing off the lows of 108. We saw Aussie a little bit higher, Kiwi a little bit higher, Canada continues to suffer.
Yeah.
So dollar Canada up, meaning Canada down, not by much, but we do have a lot of stuff coming out this week, as you mentioned, with unemployment. Now, usually Friday we have U.S. unemployment and Canadian unemployment. They're usually same day,
right?
I believe same time. It's
yeah,
either, I think it is same time.
I think they both are at 8:30.
But the way the calendar lays out, if there's 2 days in the month, as there is, Thursday will be November 1st, Friday will be the 2nd, we do our unemployment. So if Friday were the 1st, we would do it the following week.
Well, I think they pushed it.
Canada needs 3 days.
I think because November 1st is Friday, and I think they pushed it this year.
Oh, did they change? Okay.
Because tomorrow or next week's already going to be, a Super Bowl of all things.
You're absolutely right.
FOMC
so they did push it because usually they needed 1 day, and that's why we're not getting Canada at the same time. But what's great is so next Friday we'll get some opportunity to drink Canada at 7:30 around the number. But kind of a mixed bag. We are seeing a little bit of two-sided action come back in here as we take a look at Euro. We can see, they tested under 108 there. They basically held the lows. We got that little spike up to 108.60, gave back about half of it. So we're seeing a little bit of consolidation around here. What's a little bit different is yesterday we saw bonds put in new lows, sub 117, which really weighed on the dollar. Again, lower bonds mean higher U.S. rates. Traditionally, it's a little bit of a drag on the currencies, adds a little bit of strength to the dollar. Is it always one for one? No. But the theme of a little bit higher rates was playing through. We're seeing bonds almost 1.5 off those lows, and not much of a bounce in the currencies when we go through them.
But no coincidence that the yen is the first one you look to when you see that movement in rates and bonds, and we are coming back. This is the hourly chart, and now we are back under 153.
Right. Yeah. Let's get a little bit more granular here.
And yeah, big day, a long day for this yen. We've got the Bank of Japan meeting tonight, 11 p.m. No change expected in rates, but I mean, what with the political action over the weekend, with the yen weakness this week so far, do you see any potential for a shakeup?
Again, they're not expecting any changes.
Right, but their words matter.
Yeah, but they're even more cryptic than all that.
Yeah, but if people believe them, then
right. So I don't. And it's weird. It's around 11 o'clock. It's not like us where the Fed announces at 1, then they have the press conference at 1:30. It's around 11 o'clock.
Okay.
That's 11 o'clock at night. So it's kind of a late one. It's a tough one to trade. I don't expect there to be an awful lot. What will be interesting is they may reference the currency. With the usual generic, we don't like to see rapid moves in the currency one way or another. Well, we went from 162 to 130 pretty quickly, and now we're back to 152 pretty quickly, but it's still within a relatively constrained range. So I don't think we're going to get that dog whistle effect of them being either overly concerned or overly spun up at 152. Now, if we get back above 155, or more importantly, back above 160, you'll see more frequent talk. But I don't think this will be a central bank announcement that will have a lot of impact on the market right now. But we are seeing, again, a little bit of the zeal come out of this, more so than some of the other currencies. Off from, it had the greatest run up to 154. It's giving back a little bit of the most as we go into this. Aussie, again, finding just a tiny buzz, but the Aussie can't find anything. Gold threatening 2,800. It tried it twice this last night and about an hour and a half ago. Can't get through it, but it falls $9.
Yeah,
$27.90, and it's still got a bid in. We're sitting right there at that level right now. Metals are not helping Aussie bounce much. So is this a little bit of the China story? Probably a little bit of that. A little bit of the rate differential story
for sure.
Playing through, but not seeing much. We talk about wanting to see a little bit of two-way action. Yeah, it's the first green candle we've seen in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see a little bit of bounce off the bottom, but not that enthusiastic one. So it will be interesting to see what plays out. We'll get some movement off of non-farm payrolls on that one.
I mean, even before that, today we've got the GDP estimate. This one's the first one of Q3, I believe.
Right.
So if there is to be a mishit, you'd think the first estimate, the most prone, and then tomorrow we've got PCE inflation.
Right, we've got inflation. Tomorrow will be an interesting one. I think the GDP is always, they revise it 2 different times. I think it's backward looking and less relevant. I don't know. It'll come out at 7:30 Chicago time, 8:30 New York time. I don't know how relevant it really is, but maybe we will see a little wiggle out of this. I think this is a little bit more interesting. We see them almost take a, 60 pips off of this pre-budget announcement. If I remember right, our 1 standard deviation moves were sitting somewhere around 55 to 60 pips in sterling.
Yeah, so I reran them, and all of them have come in just a skosh.
It's coming in a little bit.
But this pound is still around 42 pips.
Oh, 42.
Yeah,
so it's inside.
For daily. And Euro and Aussie is now in the 20 handle. So
and that, guys, insane. That is so, a 20 pip range is a really tight range. Now, so the do I trade either side of that? Because that's the one state. Here's a case where it's so compressed, I wouldn't necessarily rely on that as an indicator. It is what the market's giving you.
Right.
And I think what you'd have to do is set expectations, and you can't be looking for, this or that could cause an 80-point move. You've got to realize that the market's giving you 20-point clips right now. So where are they giving you the biggest slice? By far, dollar yen.
Yep.
To a lesser extent, sterling, and to Aussie a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at Kiwi. Drive down there and take a look at, see what Kiwi's doing right now.
Interesting.
So, and again, we're at a 15-minute chart. So what we've seen here is Aussie have a little bit of a hard time getting gravity into a bounce. Kiwi outperforming a little bit. So that Aussie-Kiwi pair kind of ebbing back and forth a little bit. Decent trade off the lows, and really kind of coincided with London comes in the market about 1 o'clock. There's 3 major time zones for FX. London kind of kicks in from 1 and goes till 10. U.S. picks it up, obviously, 6 in the morning, goes to 4 in the afternoon. Then Asia, starting in New Zealand, Australia, and then through Japan and all of China, starts about 5 in the afternoon and goes through. So those are the 3 regions, and you tend to see around those time frames sometimes some bottoming or topping action. So this is interesting. When London came in, they had a little bit of appetite to buy some Kiwi. And, we saw a little over a 50 pip rally there, give back a little bit of ground. But it's interesting to see New Zealand finding a little bit of bottom off of a pretty precipitous, let's go back to the daily just so we can take a look at a little bit more context here. Pretty precipitous fall. And on a percentage basis, this has fallen further and faster than the Aussie has.
Huge.
So it has a little bit more elasticity to it, and a little bit more tradable range to it. So right now there is a little bit more back and forth, as we see right here. The first of those bottoming candles starting to take place a little bit. We'll keep an eye on that one. And we can actually take, even when you look at the cross is telling you that New Zealand is actually, Aussie is underperforming New Zealand. This is the 2 pairs combined as a trade. you can trade this, and this is just taking out the dollar component. So Aussie New Zealand as a pairs trade provides that opportunity for you to find something a little bit interesting. We got less than a week left to the election.
Yeah.
Geez, I gotta go vote. I haven't done that yet, and the lines will continue to get longer. Have you voted?
I have not yet.
You gonna wait till election day?
I don't know. This is my first time voting in Illinois. I tried to vote in North Carolina. They wouldn't let me.
Really?
Yeah, because I could do it when I was like in school, but now I am a full-time resident here. So yeah, I'll be voting here. Right before this, I looked up where to go. I have no clue.
And you got your voter's ID card and everything.
I don't know. I have a gas bill.
Bring 6 documents, all of them not relevant.
I got
to
$20.
the 80-year-old man sitting across from you trying to look up your name on a really small print. Yeah, that will be an interesting exercise. Let's take a look and go ahead. Also, with the election coming up, let's run down to Peso here. So,
and this one,
dollar max
daily range over 100 pips.
Right.
But we know bit of a wider spread in this one, and definitely some big movements.
So again, the continual green candles for dollar max trade up. We're also seeing on the predictive markets. Well, the polls hold it as kind of a dead heat. The predictive markets that you can buy and sell are showing Trump having a wide lead over Harris. Again, it's a small amount of money betting.
Right.
So how accurate are they? I mean, the argument is it's better than a poll because it's someone who's got skin in the game.
Right.
But
are these U.S. voters? Do we know?
No, and this you run the stories down. They say they've tracked it down to some guy in France making big bets. I don't know what that. Again, by the time we hear it, it's really not relevant. I think the tape action is relevant. This is a pair that will be directly impacted by tariffs and two diverging economic viewpoints. So we haven't quite taken out those highs yet, but we're not coming off them either. So that's kind of interesting to see a little bit. Let's dig down a little bit more granularly. And we're seeing, though, that within the upper end of this bound above 20, this is 20 peso to the dollar, we're seeing the high end of the range hold in here pretty well. So it's...
yeah. And this one is very interesting to look at the timing because it's hard. It's been hard this past month to kind of delineate, what is just robust dollar strength, what is maybe an election proxy. But if you have been tracking this peso, it does, some timing lines up for when Trump is speaking about tariffs, when he is gaining a lot of momentum. I haven't looked if it times up with success of his rallies, but that has been very interesting to see, in addition to just dollar strength.
So will this get the usual whip during the week on PCE tomorrow and unemployed for Friday? Sure. But this is something that will be kicking around pretty good all next week. Also
curious, I read that historically the yen is kind of a safe haven during election, during and post. Is this election cycle, do you think, any different, just how battered it is?
It's interesting because you would see 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if equities had a really down day, the yen would rally, irrespective of what the dollar was doing, and gold would rally. Yeah, you could see a stronger dollar. In other words, lower euro, lower pounds, lower Aussie, but yen rally, so dollar yen fall. That flight to quality proxy. The economic thinking was Japan has so many assets overseas. If things are getting difficult, they're going to sell those assets, repatriate them, and have to buy yen. It's kind of a mapping exercise. That trade did work, so a lot of times you could defensively have some long yen on as a proxy for. It was a proxy for short equity delta.
Okay.
That isn't working quite the way it used to. So sometimes those things run, and that kind of linkage worked for a good 10, 15 years. Doesn't seem to be quite as robust here because we've got gold, the older safe haven asset, at lifetime within $8 of lifetime highs. Yeah. And the yen struggling again. We were at 110 2 years ago. We're at 153 now after surfing the 130s and as high as 164. So I think that I think it's going to be a little bit different dynamic.
Do you think then people will look to the Swiss franc? That has.
It's a great point. And I think classic safe haven plays were the yen and Swiss, and
no news is good news from Switzerland. Is that?
But I think you're absolutely right. I think this is more likely to see a little bit of divergence if there is some perceived stress where you could see a necessarily stronger dollar, but dollar Swiss actually underperform. So the Swiss gain some strength. It wear that skin a little bit of what dollar yen used to be. So I think that's a great point. Let's bring up client sentiment, Glenny.
Yeah.
All right.
In the Swiss franc.
Yeah.
Where did it go? Maybe it has to be not the demo account.
Yeah, we'll bring it up for you tomorrow. But there's a great tool on the platform that's client sentiment. It gives you the amount of IG clients that are and tastyfx clients that are long and short a particular currency pair.
Last I checked, this one was one of the more extreme ones.
It was. So it's how useful a tool is it? It's as useful as you want to make it. If it gives you some insight and you feel you can make better decisions on, it's an interesting tool. It's a lot like what they put together in the futures world, the commitment of traders report, where they break it down as to hedger, retail, asset manager, and look at are they long or are they short in a particular market. So this is looking at it through a little bit different lens. But we'll bring that up for you next time. Action-packed day coming up. Keep an eye on the pound in 40 minutes. We got PCE tomorrow. Non-farm payrolls on Friday, and this dollar is testing levels we haven't seen in a long time. So let's keep an eye on that as we see Peso actually push through a little bit here, just as we're talking about it. So we'll continue to keep an eye on all these things as we run through. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow.